Well, I have to admit, this is one of my favorite times of the year. This is probably my favorite time of the year. The summer is finally fading, I think. I mean, seriously, it's the end of October. It's time for a little cooler weather. Baseball playoffs we're getting to the World Series, and it's fun to watch, especially now that Justin Verlander is in it again. And the NFL season is shaping up to, we think we know who the good teams are. I believe it was the great theologian Bill Parcells who said, "You are what your record says you are." And I think that's true for our lives too. You know, we are who we are. We are what we do. The things that we do decide who we are. And it's not so much what we do that really defines who we are or makes us who we are. It's what we're prompted to do, what that little voice inside of us tells us to do, and what we allow it to tell us to do. And I have to be honest with you, as I was writing the sermon and putting this together, I was not really impressed with myself when I looked back on the past week. I said, if it's true that we are what we do, well, let me just give you a snapshot of my week. This morning, I was prompted by aggravation. I went through the McDonald's drive-thru at about 7:30 this morning because I needed some caffeine and hash browns. And I made like the simplest order, and I pull up to the window, and they give me my drink, and then they say, "Can you pull forward over to there?" And it's like I have this like immediate reaction that I can't even control, where if you ask me to pull forward, I'm automatically going to give you the look like, "Are you serious?" And I felt bad immediately. I'm like, "Don't do that. She's just doing her job. You should be better than that. Don't let your aggravation show. You're bigger than that. You're better than that." But in truth, that's my first reaction, and I can't help but show it. Yesterday, I pulled into Abiding Grace. I thought I'd come in on a Saturday and get some work done because there's no one else in the office, and I can pull behind the church so nobody knows I'm here. And I can just have this peaceful little quiet time to work on a few things. And I pull in, and there was a tree branch which had fallen down and was right across the driveway. And I have to tell you that, prompted by laziness, my first thought was, nobody knows you came. Just turn around. Go back home. Deal with it tomorrow. To which I thought, well, that's not the right answer. My second thought was, call Paul. Because he's the property chairman. Which I thought, well, that's not the right answer either. So my third thought was, just get out of the truck and clear the street. But a lot of my life a lot of the things I do and a lot of the things I say are prompted by laziness, a desire for comfort. And I have to tell you, I have a little problem with pride, too. On Friday, we played in the Briarwood Golf Tournament. And we played well and shot a 54. And as we were coming in, we're like, we're going to win this thing. We're going to win this thing. And we go in and we see there's another 54 on the board. And I thought to myself, oh, come on. This was our year. And I see that the other 54 was shot by Mark McClure's team, who's also a member of Abiding Grace. And I was like, well, I'm really happy that Mark's team played well and actually beat us in the scorecard playoff. But I just wanted them to say my name. Is it too much just to say my name? Say, Nick, your team won. And I would stand up and say, thank you. It was no big deal, really. My immediate thought was, just one time. I think we've come in second 4 or 5 times in the last 4 or 5 years. One of these years. Luke, put it on your calendar next year. Seriously, I'm bringing a ringer. Pride has a lot to do with my life, and I'm ashamed to say it. But oftentimes, other times, I'm prompted by selfishness. Anybody in here ever selfish? So last week, I wasn't with you all, and I missed you all. I was in St. Louis. We were with Michelle's sister and her family. And I was out playing golf with my brother-in-law on Saturday afternoon. As you can tell, I haven't had a bad week. Golf, McDonald's, it's been actually pretty good. But he's like, we're halfway through the back nine. He says, we got to leave because I got to get home and take Jennifer out from our anniversary dinner. We have reservations. My immediately thought was, but I'm playing pretty well. I mean, it's like, I don't know why. These are just my initial thoughts. Does anyone else struggle with this? My initial thoughts are always about myself. They're about being comfortable. They're about being lazy. They're about my pride. They're about being selfish. And I would just have to, just come to the realization that aggravation, laziness, pride, selfishness just come naturally to me. They just do. They are my first response. But in today's text, the Apostle Paul writes in 1 Thessalonians verse 3 that we are to be prompted by love. May all your labors be prompted by love. And I have to be honest, love is not the first thing that comes up in my mind. And I have to teach myself to love. And I have to go out of my way to love because it's not natural to me. I think Jesus says something very similar in the gospel text today. First off, let me tell you this. The question that Jesus is asked is not really about taxes. It actually has nothing to do with taxes. Taxes are just a way that the Pharisees are trying to trap Jesus. There is no right answer to this question for Jesus, by the way. If he says, yes, you should pay taxes to Caesar, then the Pharisees can go around and say to the people, see, he said we should pay taxes to Caesar. He is pro-Caesar. He is not pro-you. Or if Jesus says, no, you shouldn't pay taxes to Caesar, then the Pharisees can go to Caesar and the Romans and say, he's telling people not to pay their taxes. You should get rid of him. They're trying to trap him, and Jesus sees that. I love it because pride is nothing new. They try and appeal to Jesus' pride to trap him. Like, we know that you're smart and that you follow the law and that you're a good guy, and so we're going to ask you this question. And they're like trying to, out of pride. And Jesus sees what they're doing, and he's like, give to Caesar what is Caesar's and give to God what is God's. Jesus' answer is not about taxes either. Jesus' answer is about life. It's about life. Give to God what is God's. Well, what is God's? As Christians, we believe that our life and everything in it is God's. And the Bible is pretty clear about how we do that. How do we give to God what is God's? What does God require of us? Well, to love God and to love your neighbor, which again, doesn't come natural to us. But here's the good news. What I lack in love, I make up for in faith. Faith that, while loving does not come naturally to me, it does come naturally to God. That God's very nature is love. I believe that the Lord looks at aggravated, lazy, prideful, selfish Nick every day and says, I created you. I have chosen you. In my eyes, you are perfect. You don't need to change. I love you just the way you are. That's a God worth changing for. That's a love that's powerful enough to change the world. Actually, that love is the only thing that can change our world. Amen.